Hello, I'm Mr. Pibbles, but you can call me Peter, and welcome back to our lovely little festive park mini-series here in Planet Coaster 2. I suppose it's probably too small to even call a mini-series. It's probably a micro-series if I'm being completely honest. But that is besides the point. So where did we leave off last time? Well, last time I made a lovely little alpine coaster. An alpine bobsled coaster, that's what it's called Mountain Descent, and now we are building the little bit of market that I said would be inside it. And that starts with a handful of rides. With this first one here, the Christmas Carousel. I think of Christmas markets around the UK, and I think they always have these rides, sometimes temporary, sometimes a little bit more permanent, but in this case, very temporary. So yeah, we are just adorning this with all manner of bits and pieces, just to make it look nice. And I thought this would be the perfect place to stick some of these baubles, because yes, this sort of set came with all these baubles. And I thought where else to use them but here, because we can copy them across very, very easily, and they will all look rather nice. And that is the joy behind this very kind of fun little series, is using these pieces and actually getting in and trying some stuff out. So yeah, by coming in and placing all of these baubles, we're having a bit of fun, copying them round. And now we've got a consistent pattern of baubles around the entire thing. So where do we go now that we've got all the baubles in? Well, Christmas lights. Where would we be without some festive Christmas lights? And just sticking them around the top there. It's already looking slightly more festive, and we're going to do the same with these treetop stars, kind of placing them in these little plinths, making them look just about perfect for this project. Which, if I'm being honest, is completely what I wanted. So where do we go now? Well, we're not done yet with this this carousel, so we are going to start by putting in some snowmen into these spinning capsules, which I just thought would look slightly silly, and they do. Do they fit? Not exactly, but there we go. And then coming in, I did try to put something on the horses. Nothing was small enough, so instead I put this Christmas woolly hat on the planes on the outside, because it just looked slightly silly, and yeah, I really like it. And then we just come in and we place some of these bows around, and again, I think this is what just makes it look really nice, if I'm being completely honest. And then we can come in, place some holly wreaths around the top of this middle segment. We try along the bottom as well, but as you will see in a sec, it isn't exactly perfect because it goes inside the thing, and that's really not what we want. So, where do we go with that? Well, instead we can place some of these smaller star-shaped wreaths right at the bottom, and it just looks really nice. Now, you can see me having a bit of a play around with the bits and pieces here and there. And this ornate fairy tale fence is what I have sort of finished on for this area. There's no fairy tale fence. There is no festive fence that they included with the pack. There was one that was custom made, and it's in the scenery blueprints. But apart from that, it is not easy to make, kind of by hand, because you're having to place all of these pieces by hand, which isn't ideal, but there we go. So that's why I'm using this, and I think it fits the slightly rustic, slightly interesting feel that we are going for this little area. And you'll have I can only apologise for the random camera panning that will happen. I don't know what my game was on when I was recording this. It just wanted me to never be looking at whatever I wanted to look at, which was annoying. Now, you may be wondering, why have I switched fences? I don't know. And you will notice that I don't know in a moment when I go, oh, that's the wrong fence. So yeah, we get this fairy tale fence back, and we just keep it going as per. And then just popping it down here all the way around this structure. Which, as one does, you know? What more can I say? We are just placing fences. That happens a lot on this channel. We place a lot of fences. That's why I believe that the next installment in the Planet Coaster franchise should not be called Planet Coaster 3. I believe it should be called Planet Fence. That indeed was a joke. Please do not come at me. So, with all of our fences placed, where are we going next? Well, I'm having a bit of a think about what to put in. I initially think, oh, I could go for a helter-skelter, and then I go, oh, actually, I could get something a bit bigger than a helter-skelter. Because, you know, you see all manner of things at these Christmas markets, and I thought, actually, we can stick something bigger, like an upswing or a parallelogram. But none of them work just the way I want to, so instead, we're going for a helter-skelter that just fits perfectly into this little area here, and it just looks really, really nice, so I can't complain about that whatsoever. And then, again, more fence placing, as I do. Is it perfect? No, but then it doesn't need to be perfect. This is only what we're looking at. And you may be wondering what I'm doing. Well, the initial idea was to have it in the same colours as the our lovely Christmas carousel, but then I realised, actually, we could do something more interesting with this. So something that I've seen at many a Christmas market is these windmills. They're sort of like Christmassy windmill things that usually have candles, and sort of they spin because of the steam. And I thought, well, actually, why don't I try putting something like that in here? Hence why I'm here just sticking this, these windmill sails on top. And then we come in and we place some more new pieces for the festive scenery pack, that being some candles, which do look slightly silly up at the top, but I think it works. So yeah, you can see me here sticking them down. And yes, I know some of them are floating. That does get rectified in a moment when we come in and we place these wooden poles down. And I thought this would look quite nice, sort of having this structure around the helter-skelter, just to sort of give it a bit more structure and make it look a little bit more like what I'm trying to emulate in the joy of these Christmas windmills. And you can see me here just testing clearance on it all, and clearance works fine. So now we've got those there, what do we do next? Well, by coming in here and just making these sort of beams around the edge, it just looks slightly nice. And again, it adds a bit more structure to what would be just, you know, a couple of poles going all the way up like scaffolding. And then just making this all the same colour with a little bit of red, it just makes it look quite nice. And then coming in here, of course, we need to fence this all off. As per. You know, I wouldn't get anywhere in this game if it weren't for fencing. I would get nothing done if there were no fences. So hence why they are so invaluable to me. Then just coming in here and sorting out these paths here just to make the footprint of this helter-skelter work, which looks quite nice. And then coming over here, we add more fences. You know, I really can't complain about adding more fences, it's what I do. And then just coming in here, placing the two, and then doing my old trick where you copy it round, then you copy it round, and then you keep copying it round until you have something that looks like a border fence. And it just works quite well for what I want it to do. So, what are we going to do next? Well, having kind of done all of this, what would I do next? That is a good question. we are going to have a bit of a play around and see what we can put down, including a very specific piece, this fairy tale band, which I'm taking to sort of feel a little bit like one of these fairy tale funfair organs that sort of sit around. I really wish we had one. There was one that came with the base, with the vintage stuff pack for the first game, and I really wish we had something like that back, but there we go. What are we doing now? Well, where would a Christmas market be without the market? So what we're doing is we are putting some stalls in so we can build a little market sort of along this wall of the thing. Now, I thought these looked a little bit tall, so we're going to have a bit of a play around, see what we can get done. So we take these 4 meter poles, we take them down to 2 meters, and then we sort of do something that I haven't done before in building a custom wall out of these logs, almost like a log cabin, if you will. And I think it looks rather nice. And then just kind of taking that and then copying it all back and all of that. After, of course, we have built a frame. It is very simple stuff. Once we've got one, once we have one stall, we can just keep on making them, and that is the entire plan for these stalls. You know, you make one, you can make many, and that is the plan. So there we go. So yeah, taking that across, copying that across, and then just putting them on top of each other. There we go. That's a back wall created and a front wall, and then we can create a roof in much a similar way, which is quite fun. I really like the way that this looks, and I am in no position to complain about it whatsoever. You know, it really is fun coming in and trying something new and just creating stuff with this festive pack. It's just really nice, and kind of combining that festive stuff with base game stuff, with other pack stuff, just works quite well. And yeah, I don't think you could really use specifically one pack for an entire project or one theme or whatever. I think the best way to play this game is by chopping and changing and doing whatever with whatever. Speaking of doing whatever with whatever in terms of DLC packs, I am the proud owner of the Toy Box pack, and I know I haven't done much with it or kind of showcased it at all. That will come in time. I have a very specific project in mind for my next project once we have finished the challenge park. We will then come in and start a new park series, sort of a bigger budget, more interesting themed park. And what we're going to do with all of that is it is all going to be themed up and stuff, and I will use it as a chance to do stuff that I've, again, never really done in the game. So we're just adding a couple of, I was going to say ornaments, a couple of bits and pieces just to make these cabins look a little bit more festive, with kind of the plans of all of this, and coming in, placing these fairy lights, placing the wreaths, and then toying around with it just a little bit more. Then means we can come in and we can simply copy it across. It is as simple as that for this project. You know, you come in, you place these. In the real world, these cabins will look very similar. Kind of they're stock buildings that you then come in and you let people kind of do what they want with them, and then we get to come in and add some signage outside just so people know what's in each one. So for example, we've got just a memento, a Looney Balloons, and a Hat's Fantastic in terms of our ever so wonderful souvenir stalls, and then we have a Gelato Bros on the end. Which, is it a bit cold for ice cream? Possibly, but I'd also imagine that this place does churros, cookie dough, all of that stuff that you would find at a festive market. And speaking of festive, where would it be? Where would this pack be without these little fellas? Yeah, we are now making a couple of snowmen as a bit of kind of set dressing, if you will. We come in, we place down these lovely snowmen, and we kind of get them in. And these just fill in the gaps between our little cabins, doing some interesting stuff. I know I haven't apologised for it so far, so I will take a moment quickly. I am sorry for the lags and pauses in this. I don't know what is up with it, but there we go. Now, placing some star wreaths above each of the cabins, we can get it looking quite nice. And then in this last little space, we're going to place a number of presents, because it's just slightly Christmassy like that. So that is where the joy therein lies. And these bauble festive lights, I believe, are the best of the set. You know, the other ones are nice, but I really like these baubles because they just look so nice, kind of in the way that they are. And where would this market be without somewhere to sit down and consume whatever you have? So we are sticking down some picnic tables with some canopies so you don't get snowed on. And yeah. Now we need one more thing, so what we're going to do is we're going to build something that I do not want you to get attached to. That's right, as nice as this tree looks, it will have to go in a bit, but that is my mistake to make in a couple of moments, and you will see it, well, you'll see when it happens that, you know, I go, oh, actually, we can do something different with that. But not before we have made another little snowman friend here on the corner. And this one's a little bit of a small one, a little bit goofy looking, and this one has... Well, initially it was going to be this slightly nice hat in pink, but instead we go for a bucket, because I just think it fits him just a little bit more. Then coming in and placing these nutcrackers outside the entrance and exit to our coaster, and then just fencing off the area. You may be wondering to yourself, well, when am I going to realise that I've done the wrong thing with that corner? And I will tell you that you won't have to wait long, as here we are figuring out, ooh, this is what I was meant to do with this corner. So, getting rid of all these presents, instead we are going to stick down a latte love counter, because we are building a bit more substantial of a food truck, this being a coffee van. Sort of somewhere where, you know, you'd go to get a hot chocolate or a coffee, possibly with something slightly alcoholic in it, and you know, it just feels and looks quite nice kind of to have there, and I think it was the perfect thing that was missing. And now this market is looking a lot nicer than it did at the beginning of the episode. And we can't exactly just get rid of the Christmas tree, so we've moved it a little bit further over, and there we go. Now you may be wondering where we are going. Well, I'm trying to put bits and pieces in places, nothing's really working, and then I realise, oh, actually, I haven't put windows in the station building for our bobsled coaster, so I come in and I start by putting some glass down. What I was going to do is start with one window, and then kind of work my way out from one window. You know, you start with one, and then you can use the frame to copy and paste it over, which would work so perfectly. So, what I wanted to go for is something of almost a kind of crosshatch diamond pattern on the window. I think it's almost Tudor looking, and kind of when I think this architectural style, I think something with sort of these diamond windows that look slightly nice. And I did try to get it on both sides using one piece, and I'm like, it's just not working, so let's try something else. And then I couldn't copy them over, so instead we are gonna just use them. Now I believe we are coming up towards the end of the episode, so if you have enjoyed this, then please feel free to give me a like, give me a comment, possibly even a subscribe, and I'll see you in real time. Okay, well, welcome to where we are now with our lovely little Christmas market. Obviously, coming in through here, we've got the market, and this little area is now just about done. Alright, so down here we've got our Christmas carousel with all the trimmings and a nice little queue path to take you there. And obviously it's now got all the nice little bits and garnishes. Then over here we've got our traditional Christmas windmill that I tried my best on, and I think it works just about. And then obviously we've got all of our little Christmas stores for the Christmas market along here, which I really like the way that all of these look. It's slightly silly, slightly goofy, but you know, it is what it is, along with our coffee truck there. So, one would think, oh, is that all we're doing? Because we've got the market done, we've got the bobsled done. Is that it? No! We are going to be moving over here within the next episode, and we're going to be filling out all of this. So, I will see you in the next episode. Have a good one. Roll that outro.